Okay, this is the problem with trying to do everything yourself, film and the art at the same time. Inspiration strikes and you're just zipping along and all of a sudden you remember, hey, I should be filming this. So here we are, trying to catch you up. These are two pieces that a friend of mine gave me. So I'm going to be working off of these for inspiration. Also drawing on a piece that he recently did. So we're going to work on that. These are the scrap cutoffs. I'm recycling those to make this centerpiece. These are going to work off of. And these are something you didn't see. We're just straight square tubing, but I started fiddling around with the pipe bender and got some angles and nice knots and twists and kind of lines and curves that I was looking for here. So, like I said, it just kind of struck me, so I started building it. And we'll film a little bit more of this and see where it goes. Alright, at this point I'm taking this bender that I've made and I'm using it to form the two pieces that will later be the outside circumference of the wheel that I'm fabricating. It takes a little time. It's kind of hit and miss because I've got to form it and then lay it out on the floor to get the circumference right and dial that in so it's a nice perfect circle. And then I'll weld those two pieces together and go from there. One thing you might notice here is that I'm actually bending it over what I need to get the outside circumference of the wheel. It's easier to do that, and then whenever I lay it out on the floor with the design that I have drawn on the ground, I can then stretch it out to get that nice perfect circle. I've just found that it's easier to do that than go back and forth to the bender and trying to get it perfect the first time. Saves a little time. As you can see, I've got the wheel fabricated. I went ahead and took the pieces that I was forming on the bender and cut them off to the right length to form the overall circumference that I wanted for both the inside and the outside. I tacked those together, and then I took and I cut out the caps for both sides and I tacked those on. As you can see, it's kind of offset a little. The inside is over a little bit, and I did that on purpose to kind of give the wheel an overall effect. And it looks a little odd for what you would expect out of a normal wheel, but that's what I was shooting for. You know, something different. I didn't want it to be stale. I wanted to give it a little flair. And then with the caps, I just traced out the overall space that I need to cover and cut those pieces out, and then tack those in place also. So what I'm doing now is starting to weld it up. And to do so, you've got to do it in a sequence. You've got to kind of stagger the welds. You can't do it all in one straight shot because the heat would really warp the metal itself, and it would look really distorted and be uneven. So I'm doing like 6 to 4 inch welds, and again I'm just staggering those on both the inside and the outside, and then I'll go back later on and grind all this down smooth. I like this effect. I like the staggered inside or offset inside circle. I've done that before on another piece, and I really liked the effect. It turned out good, and I decided to go ahead and do it again on this one. So this is a time-consuming process. It takes a while to weld it all up in sequence, and you know, it's a lot of work, but it's all part of the job. At this point, it's easier to go ahead and start grinding down some of the welds, especially on the inside of the wheel itself. I have more room to work with the big grinder and get it in there, and it really makes short work of taking down all these welds as opposed to using the smaller grinder. It still takes a lot of time. It's a lot of work. You have to be careful because if it catches and that sucker will swing out on you, and it's dangerous with that grinder. But like I said, it's easier to do it now than later on. Once I have the inside of the wheel in there, it would be a lot harder to maneuver around inside. Now I'm working on the center axle and what I call the spokes, the two pieces that will hold the axle in place. Just making sure it's all lined up the way I want. And then I'm going to fit the spokes, or the two pieces, in around the axle. I want it pretty close. The gaps don't really matter too much. I can fill it up regardless, but the bigger the gap, the more time it takes to fill that up with weld. They're going to be heavy welds anyway because I want it to resemble heavy equipment or farm equipment. But I'm just trying to save myself a little time, not having to do more than what I want, you know, here. So it just makes it easier. Now I'm working on the lugs for the wheel. I'm just taking some 4x4 inch square tubing and fitting them to the outside of the wheel itself so they fit up nice and snug. And then I'll bevel out the outside of that and then take some pieces that I've already pre-cut for the caps on those lugs, and then I'll just tack them in place, and later on I'll go back and weld those on. Just a quick note, you might notice I'm not using a welding shield or a hood. I'm not looking at it whenever I'm fabricating this. I mean, you don't look at it whenever you're tacking it up. You usually close your eyes or you look away just to keep the light or the arc from burning your eyes. So even though I'm wearing dark glasses or safety glasses, I'm still not looking at what I'm doing. I'll just, like I said, for a minute, I'll just close my eyes or look off to the side. Don't weld without some kind of eye protection, please. You'll burn your eyes. I want it to look seamless on the lugs, so I'm going back with a small grinder and blending in those welds so it just looks like it's all one piece. At the same time, I'm also going across the wheel itself and blending in any spots that I might have missed with the big grinder. Now comes the fun part, the assembly. Here I'm working on attaching the arms that will hold the smaller wheels in place. Those are welded to a ring that is then bolted onto that center axle, and the smaller wheels themselves will be bolted in place also. I did this so it can be broken down easily and then allowing it to be maneuvered around or moved in separate pieces as opposed to one welded up single piece. This also makes it easier to paint, which is the next step. I just have to prime it up and paint it. But first I need to fabricate a base plate. This will give it a little more stability. The weight itself will hold it in place, but the base plate will allow me to bolt it down to a pedestal or a concrete pad if it is used on display as public art. So, not too much left now. Well, here's the finished piece. Its title, Harvester of Sorrow. It was a way for me to channel some of my own emotions that I've had here lately. I like the way it turned out. I'm happy with it. It's available at ArtbyCooper.com. I'm Jeremy Cooper. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.